Well, it looks like Rustival really has gone bananas, doesn't it? With this fantastic Toyota Starlet. And many more like this in the full video. Welcome to Lot 76 Cars. My name's Simon and welcome to Rustival 2. Wow, this is a rare beast, isn't it? It's a Datsun Cherry from 1979, from the days before they were branded Nissan. It's an absolute beauty. It's called Keris apparently, 988cc engine, and it proudly says 0 to 60 in 18.6 seconds. So it's got even the original dealer sticker in the back window. Good Lord. And an original colour chart. Let's see if we can identify what colour this is. No, maybe not. Maybe need a bit of help with that one. Ooh, what a lovely example somebody's dug out and brought to Rustival. I'm so glad they have. I love it. Don't the early Mark 1 Ibiza, Seat Ibizas look pretty sharp? That sort of push to the corner design with the wheels, that really sharp styling. Allegedly, it was a rejected Giugiaro proposal for the Mark II Golf. But in actual fact, Seat picked it up when VW rejected it and went with another proposal. And what a great car, and what a rare one these days. I rarely see one of those. I've seen a few 3-doors, but not a 5-door. That's fantastic, isn't it? Another rarity is this Yugo Sana. These are pretty rare. I think I've seen this car before. I think it's the only example of its type. It's got a bit of a relationship styling wise, I think because of Bertoni. It's got a bit of hint of BX in it from some angles, but it's in lovely condition, isn't it? What a survivor. So a Mark 1 Fiesta is getting pretty rare these days. This is an early car, but this one is a pretty original S, and it was driven all the way back from the south of France by the owner, I think, who works for Classics World, and he very bravely brought it all the way back. I've seen it already at Festival of the Unexceptional very briefly, but he's brought it here today, and isn't it lovely? I think it's as bought condition, virtually unrestored at the moment. It looks a treat, doesn't it? Now, from one extreme to the other, we got the Triumph Herald, so built on a separate chassis, even as cars were moving to monocoques, to do with flexibility and ability of Triumph to build the car themselves, is this beautiful Herald Coupe, and this really is lovely. Got that great picnic set in the back there. Somebody's obviously put a lot of work into this. Do love that colour scheme. Don't know if it's an original colour scheme. Many were two-tone, but doesn't it look good? What a treat. Absolutely. Well, we'll have to take their word for that. There's no pizza, spaghettis, vino or ice cream left in this vehicle overnight. Well, it would have to be a Fiat Seicento. That's lovely, isn't it? Left-hand drive car. It's obviously come from warmer climes because it's survived really, really well. Beautiful colour. Well, they're certainly not commonplace these days, are they? Not in that condition. So another one of those rare but nobody cares cars from the early days of Hyundai in the UK. 94, I think, is this Hyundai Accent. You simply don't see these. They were a little bit disposable. They were cheap motoring, good reliable motoring back in the day, but so few of them survived. The owners made a superb effort. They've got everything here. They've even got a CD. There was even a CD to go with it. My God! Wow, they've pushed the boat out on this one. Well done, guys. And I know it's had some new number plates screwed on because I read that on Facebook. But fantastic. So taking time to read the livery on this van from Puddle Farm, Cluck and Quack Egg Suppliers. Yes, indeed. Well, it is a beautiful 205 van. The car versions are getting thin on the ground. The GTI survive, but the more basic versions and the vans, I can't recall seeing a van for years. Well, it is in immaculate condition. I'm not sure if it's been repainted, but whatever they've done to it, it looks a absolutely wonderful condition, doesn't it? So the Patrick Lequemont designed one-box Twingo, the original car, was never actually officially imported into the UK, so I think they're all pretty much left-hand drive. This first car, this sort of turquoisey blue colour, is a phase 1 car, and it looks absolutely lovely in beautiful condition. I guess this one's a later one. Twingo experts, put it in the comments. You probably know a bit more about Twingos than I do, but I'm absolutely delighted to see those two here today. That's lovely, isn't it? Well, this front can only be from one vehicle. It is the iconic Citroën SM. I think it was designed by a guy called Robert Opron, who went on to design the Fuego when he left Citroën and went to Renault. Maserati engine in it, Citroën owned Maserati at the time, but this is beautiful, isn't it? I would kill for one of these. They are, to me, exceptionally beautiful cars. And that one in the sort of light gold does look good, doesn't it? So how often do you see these? It's an Alfa Romeo 155 twin spark. It apparently was a dealer courtesy car, hence it didn't stretch the budget to painted bumpers. It apparently is the only one left of its type. It's an immense looking car. It has survived incredibly well, hasn't it? These did handle well. I did drive them many years ago, and they must have made an impression, because I still talk about it now. So let's have a quick look inside. The owner's told me the handle requires a bit of a pull, so I have to. So it has survived quite well. Love those door cards, that sort of fabric door card. Hasn't it survived well? Wow. Beautiful seat fabric there. Plastics by this generation, Italian cars have certainly moved on a lot. There's a lot of soft touch plastics in there, isn't there? It's got a sunroof as well. So what's not to like? That's lovely, isn't it? So the Mark II Cavalier was a massive step forward for Vauxhall. It switched to front wheel drive from rear wheel drive in the Mark I version at a time when a lot of competitors like the Cortina were aging and still rear wheel drive. Now this one is a beautiful china blue example. It's on sale currently at Stone Cold Classics. I think Matt Richardson on Furious Driving has done a video on it, and it is in beautiful condition. To be honest with you, they really drove rather well. I had a couple of them back in the day, and I must admit the engines were certainly performed a bit better than the equivalent Ford engine. So this is a facelift car, and you'll see that it's got the facelift grille on the front, the sort of cheese cutter egg box style grille, but it does look a treat, doesn't it? Lovely. So this is a beautiful 1959 PA Cresta, a slice of Americana. GM very much brought American style into the car. Beautiful touches. Look at that badge at the front. That looks immense. Fantastic lashings and lashings of chrome. This one is incredible because you've got this model is incredible because look how much the front and rear screens cut into the passenger area. So the owners invited me to have a look at it inside, and we've got to do that, haven't we? It's got a bench seat, plenty of room, probably get 3 on the front there, column gear change, and look at how the dash and the screen curves around. You can really see you've almost got quite a panoramic view of that, haven't you? Beautiful chrome switchgear there. I'll just try and get the camera to focus a bit. Still windy windows, of course. And where would we be without those fins at the back? Honestly, there's a couple here today, and they are absolutely lovely cars, aren't they? Beautiful, beautiful cars. What a slice of history that is. So we've got one of 3 known surviving Toyota 1000 estates, and this is a 1977 from the early days of Toyota GB's operation in the UK. And what an absolute survivor. I cannot recall seeing one. Smarty, as it's affectionately known because of the registration number, is awaiting some restoration work, but it's on the road and it's here. And aren't we glad to see it? I thought at first it must be an import, but no, it's an original UK car. Goodness, that one is a real unicorn, isn't it? You want unicorns? Well, here's one. This is the last Daihatsu Applause. It's a 1989 car. About 22,000 produced worldwide. And this is the only one that survived out of the ones that came to the UK. So Daihatsu were the first car company, Japanese car company, ever to reach the UK with the Compagno back in 1965, I think. Didn't succeed, sold very badly. I think they sold 6. But later on in life, Daihatsu sold big numbers of cars in the UK. Unfortunately now gone, and this is one of the ones they sold that survived. 16XI Applause. Well, let's give it a round of applause, shall we? Originally bought by a hotel chain, this Volvo 240 from I think 89 is remarkable. Why is it remarkable? Well, just look at the mileage. It's done 836,984 miles as of today. Goodness, that is a lot of miles, isn't it? So it's certainly had a lot of use, but hasn't it survived well? So it'll be hopefully heading to 1 million miles pretty soon. That will make it a bit of a record breaker in the UK at least. That's fabulous. What a survivor. So when Ford replaced the Anglia with the Mark I Ford Escort, they had a bit of a right on their hands. They took out full page advertisements at the time telling them how good the Escort was and that the Anglia had sort of reached the end of its time, and they introduced the Mark I. Now this is the lesser seen estate version. Thankfully nobody's converted it into anything else. Oh, it's a lovely condition. It's incredible how much space there is. The load area and the rear spaces for a car of the size is absolutely incredible. What lovely condition that is. You rarely see them as nice as that, if at all. So I hope you've enjoyed the show so far. Some absolutely epic cars and many more to come. I've got a whole couple of car parks still to go, so please join me on the tour and we'll see what else we can find, shall we? So breaking new ground at launch is this monocoque 4-cylinder but front-wheel drive Citroën Traction Avant. This is an incredibly innovative car back in the day, and hasn't this one survived rather well? Let's have a look inside. It's pretty cosy in there, as you would expect. Rudimentary instruments. Wow, this was simple motoring, wasn't it really, back in the day? There you go again. I think that's what indicators, not trafficators, but some side indicators there. Well, that's quite an imposing looking vehicle, isn't it? So for BMW fans, we've got the E30 323i. So the 323i, I'm not sure it had such a long life. I think it was replaced by the 325, and it is an early car. It's a Y-plated car. It's a beautiful, beautiful red. Factory sunroof in there as well. Lip spoiler on the back. Wow, it is an early car, isn't it? Doesn't it look nice as well? So this is the Classics World project car, and it is a W124. It's a 92 or 93 looking at the plate. It's a lovely colour, isn't it, this blue? I can't remember what the colour is called, but I think it was available in the W2 or 1190s as well. A lot of trademark features. You've got the first aid kit in the back window. You've got the lights at the back, which are easier to keep clean. It is just a 200e, so it's got the same engine as my Mercedes 190e, but in a bigger body. Well, it does look good. Bit of work, that one will look quite nice, won't it? Originally launched as the Chrysler Alpine, but in this incarnation it became the Talbot Alpine following the sale of the company to PSA Group. Designed, I think, by a guy called Roy Axe, who designed a lot of other cars in period, and relatively rare, makes a big deal out of the fact that yes, it's a 5-speeder when 5-speed wasn't common, and this one's a survivor. Now if you look at some of the pictures in the back of it here, it looks like it was in a scrapyard, or certainly not looking so good, is it really, in those pictures? Great that the owners got the original brochure with all the details on the car, and these are not commonplace either, to be fair. Quite a useful looking car, quite a fair bit of space in it. and I haven't seen another one yet so far today. Wow. So this is an NSU RO80 or RO80 as they're called. This car is significant, first of all, because I think it was introduced in 1968, 67 or 68. Car of the year for that period, promised an awful lot, very futuristic design. But because of the Wankel rotary engine and the warranty claims, it destroyed the company and pushed the company into the hands of Audi, and the brand was lost. What a pity, because that car is such a striking design for the late 60s, isn't it? Now, it was simply a question of changing the rotor tips on the Wankel rotary engine that would have actually fixed it. And in fairness, it could have been such an incredible success, but it's noted for being a commercial failure that actually took the company out of business. Unbelievable. Well, you don't often see a DAF 55, but you certainly don't see one that's prepared for motorsport with all the timing gear in it, do you? It's a right-hand drive car. May well have been a UK car, I don't know. I've been proved wrong before. But it's seen a bit of action. And it's even got a full roll cage in it, or a half roll cage, I'm not sure. But that is an interesting find, isn't it? So to the undiscerning, this might look like a Toyota Corolla Estate, but I've even got to read this one, it's so long. Look at it. It's a 1997 Toyota Sprinter Carib Z Touring Aero Sport Package RV Package. Wow. Apparently they say, honestly, that's the name. Well, I don't doubt it, but I must add that one to my my knowledge. Incredible. So this is a 1989 Alfa 164. Honestly, I absolutely love these. It's one of the Type 4 design cars, sharing parts with the Saab 9000 and also with the Fiat Croma. Same designer, I think Pininfarina designed all of them. This is a facelift car. Owner's just invited me to take a look inside, so we're going to just have a look inside at that late 80s Alphaness. That's lovely, isn't it? This has survived well. Apparently this was the base car, this particular one. You wouldn't think so. It's got electric seats. Trim survived really well. And look at that dashboard. Look at those vents. Absolutely style, style, style first. What a pretty car they are, aren't they? And they're pretty good to drive, as I recall, from driving these back in the day. With a 3-litre Busso engine. What's not to like? So Skoda made huge capital about the fact that Bertoni designed this car. I think it was the early days of Volkswagen ownership, and they produced the Favret. And I think later didn't become the Felicia. I'm not sure. I love how it's got some features. Look how I'll just zoom in on that a little bit there. Can you see how the Skoda is stamped into the door panels, the door cards, in case you didn't know? Wow. Unusual to see one of those here today. I know there's a couple of other channels have got these cars, but this one is, well, it's almost in showroom condition. Say it's what, a 93 by the look of it. Wow, another survivor. So this E12 BMW is already a YouTube star. This 5 Series is an absolute treat. It's an ex-South African car, hence it's right-hand drive. Let's have a chat with Gentle of Gentle's Garage and find out a little bit about the story behind this car, because it's absolutely fascinating. I can tell you, having heard it a few times now, it's intriguing. So, Gentle, we're in the famous orange, not the correct name, E12. But it's been quite a battle to get here this week, isn't it? We've been following the story, many of us online. But tell us just briefly about the history of this car, because you've known this car a long time, haven't you?
Yes, that's right, Simon. So, in a nutshell, this is a 1974 BMW 5 Series E12. And it was bought brand new in 1974 by a Portuguese couple living in South Africa.
Hence the right-hand drive, of course.
Yes,
yeah.
hence the right-hand drive. And then they were living between South Africa and Portugal. They took the car to Portugal in '79, where it stayed there for the rest of its life,
Wow.
mostly. I've bought this car in 2002 after seeing a newspaper ad, and after I wrote off my first car, a 1987 BMW.
Oh.
I
okay,
wanted to have another BMW,
Yeah,
so I
yeah,
saw a newspaper ad, something that you don't buy cars these days from newspaper ads. And I saw this. There was no picture, nothing, just a description.
Right.
Orange BMW right-hand drive. I went to see the car, became hooked, and but it wasn't running. It had a broken engine. It did start, drive, but it wasn't great. So I've bought the car. Then I bought another E12 to get the engine to put in this car. Met quite a few people in the process, but unfortunately 2 years later in 2004, due to several other circumstances, I was forced to sell this car, much to my regret.
Gentle, tell us, so that was the story of how you lost the car and unfortunately had to part with the car, but what about the finding it again by chance? How did that happen?
So the guy that sold this car to me back in 2002, we became friends ever since. And he still does this hobby of buying and selling classic cars as a hobby.
Wow.
And he was looking for cars, found this car on an online ad, and messaged me. I look at the message with a picture of this car, and I thought, I just could not believe it. I have to have this.
You had to buy it, didn't you?
I had to
And what was
have
how
it.
many years gap between selling it and finding it again?
That was 18 years.
Wow. So it could have been scrapped, could have been bumped, anything. could
I
have
lost
happened.
complete track of it, so it basically made my day. Luckily, I already had a ticket to go to Portugal within a couple of weeks' time, already bought. And then he helped me to negotiate the price. I went, saw the car, bought it, got everything sorted out, and 2 months later, it was on my driveway.
Wow.
So the car was back into my possession
What-
20 years later.
What a
since I bought it.
story. What a great story.
And it was found again by the same person who sold me in 2002. But it wasn't in the greatest condition, because when I had the car back in 2004, the interior was absolutely immaculate. The paint was okay, not too bad. And when I got it, it was in a bit of a sorry state, needing a full recommissioning.
So let's. What I'll do then at that point, I suggest to follow the story, not to spoil the story, in Gentle's own words. Check out Gentle's Garage. I'll put a link into his YouTube channel, because there are lots and lots of videos about the resurrection of this car. There are highs, there are lows, there are a few heartbreakers in there as well, but it's here today at Rustival, and it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with Gentle about it. So don't forget to check out his channel, and thanks for chatting to us.
Thank you
Much
very much.
appreciated.
Nice to see you again, Simon. It's always
you.
a pleasure. And we'll hope to meet again.
Exactly. Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you very much.
Well, so I think these are two-stroke, aren't they? Wartburg Motorsport. Well, I didn't know they had a motorsport division, but I'll take their word for it. These were sold in the UK. I do remember these back in my childhood being sold in the UK. They're pretty thin on the ground now. That looks resplendent. 3-cylinder two-stroke. There you are. What a car. And now we've got its sort of competitor, would it be? We've got the S110L Skoda. And that looks pretty mint as well, doesn't it? These were budget cars back in the 70s, I guess. Cheapest way to get a new car, to get a family car, lots of space, maybe not up to the minute technology, but people bought them. And this one is really a survivor. Probably this Mark I Cavalier is almost museum standard. So this was unusual for this size of car, but then you could buy a two-door car in this segment. This was really Vauxhall's first successful effort into the fleet market, and it was based on an Opel design, I think the Ascona, with relatively minimal changes, mostly at the front. Rear wheel drive still. This is a UK supplied car, supplied by the dealer Tracentral, I think what they'd be Luton or somewhere like that, or Bedfordshire. This one, it's museum quality. I mean, actually, I don't know if the camera's picking this up. Sometimes the camera lie, it doesn't on this occasion. This Cavalier 1600L is absolutely mint, properly mint. The interior's mint, the exterior's mint. Wow. Pretty basic by today's standard, but what a lovely trip down memory lane for many of us who remember these. That's lovely, isn't it? Well, I never thought I'd be calling a Mark 1 pre-facelift Renault Megane a unicorn, but I am. You just simply don't see them. In the earlier days of the channel, I had the pleasure of driving a yellow, beautiful pineapple yellow coupe, so check out that car on the back catalogue. But this one, I think, is probably an RN model. It's a relatively basic one, and people just didn't preserve these, did they? They just didn't survive. But goodness, that one has, hasn't it? So rarely am I totally stumped, but I got me here. This one looks like it was manufactured in Brazil. It's a Peugeot, but not as you'd know it. So we'll have a look around the back. It's a Peugeot pickup. Yes, we got that bit right. It's got Escapade on the side, a decent size load bed in the back, and apparently it's called a Peugeot Hogger. Well, find another one. If you know more about those, or you're watching from Brazil, please put it in the comments, because I've never seen one of those before. So I think this Nissan Pulsar EXR Cabriolet was a rare car even in Japan. Honestly, I haven't seen one. I mean, this is one of the things that this Rustival flushes out, is these rare cars. It's in beautiful condition inside. Love how it's got the woven into the seat. It's got Pulsar NXR. Apparently it's a limited edition produced just for the Japanese car market, to commemorate the 15th anniversary of the Cherry stores. So there you go, eh? If you didn't know, you know now. And doesn't it look good? There you go, Pulsar EXR. Affectionately known as Bob is this Mark IV Ford Escort, in solid blue colour, named after the owner's late father, supplied by Fullers and Malden. It says the original vehicle sales invoice is there, and the customer paid a grand total of $6,979 before the part exchange. Well, there you go, what you could get for your money back in the day. It's got the original dealer stickers in the back. I think the only thing it's got is the sunroof. It's just a 1.4L. They enlarged the CVH engine, I think, from 1.3 to 1.4. If you know more about that, put it in the comments. But there you go, what a treat. So to celebrate, I think it's the 30th anniversary of Fiesta, Ford commissioned these anniversary versions with the checkered roof, and they were available, I think, in red, this lime green and yellow, I think, from memory. These are getting pretty thin on the ground now, I must admit. Well, it's certainly a striking car. You wouldn't lose it in a car park, would you? So with more than a hint of Mark II Cortina in the design, I think that's no accident, is the Morris Marina. And this one is resplendent in orange. I can't remember off the top of my head what the BL colour was for this, but please put me out my misery and put it in the comments. Somebody must know watching the video. But this is a lovely example of 1.3. Another rare one coming out of the woodwork, I think, was designed by Bertoni. It's the Daewoo Espiro. The what, I hear you cry? Well, yes, Daewoo imported these based on a GM, I think, Cavalier Mark II platform. These were sold with the "That'll be the Daewoo" advertising tagline, and all you did was just add fuel. Everything else was included for the first 3 years or something like this. The model didn't work at the time, their business model, but they did sell a number of cars, and this is an absolute true survivor. If this is your Daewoo Espiro, I would absolutely move heaven and earth to have a go in one of these, because there's so few of them left. but you've done a great job by preserving it, so I love it. Absolutely. Says a lot about the channel, but there you go. Walk past a Ferrari to get to a Daewoo Respiro. So this was Volvo's, I think, attempt to really crack the American market, because it's a bit stateside styling. It's an early car, an 86, I guess, on a D. The thing that marks these cars out is that notch back at the end, that notch back right there with that very unusual styling, a bit of an acquired taste perhaps. As you can see, we're invited to have a look inside this one. Nice pinstripe there, but let's have a look. If you want pinstripes, look at that. Look at the colours of the door cards. In fact, look at the colours of the trim. Goodness, that looks an absolute treat, doesn't it? Even the dashboard is following the same colour themes. Well, it's certainly stood the test of time, hasn't it? But that's Volvo quality for you. Absolutely lovely. Now, I watched this one come in. It's a Daewoo Lanos, but I tell you what, the condition is mint again. This is almost showroom fresh. However this has been prepared, they've done a cracking job. I'm glad I found it in the parking. Daewoo, I've commented elsewhere in the video about them, but this owner's got the all the book packs here as well. Full set of packs of information, and hasn't he got a nice car? W2000. I mean, that's a 24-year-old car already. Staggering, isn't it, when you think about it? So here we've got the Mark II Astra, but this one's an SR, not a GTE, not a GTI, but an SR. So this was the sporty version. They also had an SR version of the Cavalier. I believe these were carburettor cars. There was an SRI version that came later, in fairness, but this one is, I don't know, I don't recall seeing one of these for quite a while. This aerodynamic shape meant even in 1.3 form, a friend of mine had one that used to go like absolute stink. So Mazda 626, what an unusual car. I think I might have seen this one actually at Brooklands. There's not so many of these about. And in actual fact, this is the version, it's the GT with four-wheel steering. So the chance of finding another one of those is going to be relatively rare. Another unicorn here. Apparently, this is the only one left. We've definitely got a unicorn with this one, haven't we, guys? Wow. So packing a not inconsiderable 133 brake horsepower is the 2.3 litre, 2.3E, in fact, Audi 100. E for Einspritzen, German for fuel injection apparently. And these, I simply haven't seen one of these. I've seen the odd Avant or estate version in Audi speak, but I haven't seen 100 as nice as this for a long time. It's a 1992. It actually doesn't seem that long ago, but it is, unfortunately. It seems like only yesterday, doesn't it? But this one has really survived well, and in fact the paintwork is brilliant. It's got the Pro Content safety system, a series of pulleys that came before airbags that actually, with the engine moving backwards, pull away the steering column from the driver. So quite a relatively safe car and innovative technology. Yeah, it's good to see that here today, isn't it? Peugeot 405 Estate. It looks like a pre-facelift, although you can't really tell that much with the Estate versions. It's what, an 89. It's got those wheel caps on. Probably it's not a GL, it's a GR, I suspect. Incredibly useful cars. I had this saloon version and I absolutely adored it. It's a GRD. Probably it's used, wherever it's come from in the country, it's probably used about only £5 worth of diesel. Fabulous. Citroen XM, former car of the year as well. Hydropneumatic suspension, what a choice. And next to it, well, a Citroen CX, the older brother. Both of them absolutely iconic looking cars, particularly the CX, which supposedly was based on a BMC design in terms of concept, the BMC Aerodynamica. So Google that one and have a look. But both of them very impressive cars and thin on the ground today. So if you think Citroen Visas are rare, this is a Visa GTI. So let's have a look at that. It's got the body kit on. The early cars had 105 brake horsepower, later cars had 115. Absolutely incredible to see these. The owner reckons there's about 16 left on the road. Incredible the body kit, how the body kit accommodates possibly a wider rear track. Just let's take you down the side of the car so you can see that body kit, how it actually juts out. Quite subtle, quite a tall car, not necessarily one you'd associate with the with being a hot hatch. Fortunately, I've had a look in one of the earlier cars, the non-GTIs, at Festival and Exceptional, so check that video out, because they're quite different inside. As you can see, that binnacle, that sort of rotating cluster on the side of the steering wheel's gone. It proudly proclaims the fact it's a GTI. Still got quite a bit of bare paint and metal in there. And that check trim, it's in great order. So the owner bought it at the last Rustival and's done lots and lots of work to it. And hasn't he done a cracking job? That's great, isn't it? Now these Zodiacs of this generation are even big by today's standards. They're actually a massive, massive car. Came before the Granada. Huge bonnet on them. Quite a big passenger area. The styling's quite unusual actually, quite squared off, quite a change in direction after the earlier Zephyrs and Zodiacs that had fins, and that one is in great order, isn't it? That's lovely. So this Honda Accord Aero deck is currently advertised on Car and Classic, so if you want one, check it out. These are quite unusual because the unusual tailgate at the back, how you've got the glass right the way into the roof section, makes them quite an airy and lots of light gets into the back of the car. Well, it's in good condition, isn't it? I'll give them that. Oh, better keep me away from Car and Classic this weekend. Launched at the 1982 Motor Show was the Sierra, and that jelly mould shape, as it was so called at the time, didn't have a great reception after the Cortina. There were rumours of dealers stocking up on Cortinas to bide them through. This one is an 86 LX, so it's a few years after launch, but there were differences against the early car. So first of all, there was issues about stability in crosswinds. So as you can see here, this aerofoil, or whatever you want to call it, was added to improve stability in crosswinds. And additionally, the front lights were changed, so it was a much smaller front light, and they used the lights from the gear, although I'm not sure whether they had the additional lights. In this instance it might have had them fitted, but originally it was just about 3/4 of the size of that. This car's opened, so we'll have the opportunity to have a look inside. I know the dashboards on these are particularly vulnerable to cracking, and this one's obviously suffered, but that's a familiar place to many of us who had them. I had a couple of them, and that's very, very familiar. Great to see that here today. So this was in actual fact a specially edition Astra. I think it was called the EXP from memory. This two-tone black over gold, and it's a rare car. The owner has got, it was the EXP, an absolutely immense amount of detail. Shout out for them for putting that display in there. They've even got the original purchase invoice, just under 5,000, or just over 5,000, £5,103, and that got you a 1.3S Mark 1 Astra EXP. Well, it certainly stands out, doesn't it, in that colour scheme. So this was the booted version of the Astra. Do you remember what it was called? It was the Belmont. This one's in beautiful order. You're certainly not going to see many of these. They weren't massively popular back in the day. I guess the answer, Vauxhall's answer to the Orion, got an absolutely massive boot compared to others of the period. Let's have a look inside. It looks like it's an 89 or a 90. What did Belmonts give you? Well, they gave you some wood trim in this, guys. It's still a manual. Lovely velour. It's got one of those Fisher C boxes, you know, where you used to put all your cassettes that recognise the Vauxhall interior. Nice rim steering wheel, looks like a leather one actually. Wow. And it's got, just have a quick look up there, it's got a factory sunroof as well. Well, what a treat. Fantastic. To see a Belmont is a rare treat, but to see what looks like a Belmont, in fact it's a Pontiac Le Mans, and obviously it's clearly an import because it's left-hand drive. What's the chance of seeing one of these? Clearly GM derived, got the Pontiac badges there, sold as a world car. It's the 1.6 engine, I think, on this one. Might be a 1.6, might be bigger. Badged as Le Mans. It's got this interesting addition on the back. Wow. There you go. Good Lord, a Citroen ZX. I think even Jeremy Clarkson was impressed by how these handled back in the day. There were certainly a little bit more of a left field choice, but Citroen's attempt at mainstream was really well received. As I remember rightly, the test drives of the day really rated it quite well. And there you go. Find another, as somebody says. So the Fiat Tempra, and there was a Fiat Tempra SW, station wagon, I think that stands for. Did anybody know there was a station wagon? Well, there definitely was, and they did sell them in the UK, but they didn't sell many, and clearly that's why not that many survive. So Fiats of that period are pretty thin on the ground to say that they sold such big numbers of them. But there you go, a very useful SW. Look at the high roof there. I just saw that. Excellent. So these early Saab estates are becoming thin on the ground, aren't they? I think the early cars were two-stroke engines from memory. This one's quite clever because actually rear-facing seats I thought were a thing much later, but this has got rear-facing seats. Get a couple of children, they maybe even get an adult in there, I don't know. Well, that's incredible, isn't it? It's in great condition as well, and what an incredibly useful car, and so much space for such a small car as well. Nicknamed after the goddess Helena, the Citroen LNA was launched based on a shortened 104 Peugeot platform, which gave them a small car. It's clearly derived from 104 when you look at some of the proportions. That cut-off back end of the car. Well, I haven't seen one of those for ages, and I'm glad to have seen one today, I must admit. So you want an early Uno? Well, we've got you covered as well. We're not just got Puntos here, we've got this Uno. This, arguably, some people prefer these to the Punto. I know friends of mine have got fond memories of these. So many sold on great finance packages back in the day. Very, very popular, but again, rarely seen, unfortunately. So this Granada Mark III is for sale. So one of the first production cars with ABS. I think early cars in the adverts had B-platers. This one is quite a bit the way up the range. In fact, it's a Scorpio. It's the 2.9 litre automatic, family owned from new with 95,000 miles. I'll have to stop reading that one. If you're interested in that car, then pause the video at the right point, because surely there can't be too many of those about, particularly in that solid burgundy colour as well. So this was Vauxhall's large car pre-Carlton, the VX 2300. I think did have another model name in other guises, but I can't at the moment place that one, so stick it in the comments. Probably it'll come back to me later. This one's beautifully preserved. Not many Vauxhalls of this period lasted so well as this one. I don't know if it's had paint, but it's certainly in that gold, looks resplendent. That's absolutely lovely, isn't it? So you can take your pick of minis, but I'm drawn to this lovely, to me anyway, end-plated Clubman, just like the one my mum had. She had an orange version of that with the fake wood. Later they put decals on the side, but the stickers never did it for me. This is how they should look, with this BL wood. And how families have managed to travel in this one, God only knows, because they look tiny by today's standards, but well, I'm so pleased to have seen that one. Now, I think these Celicas were sent to the American Sunroof Company to have the roof lopped off. I know it was a very expensive process to do it. I don't believe they did it in-house, so they sent it to the specialist, but it made the cars extraordinarily expensive. This one is in lovely condition. It's a right-hand drive automatic. It may have been a Japanese car, who knows, I'm not quite sure, but it looks lovely in that sort of sunburst red colour, doesn't it? So looking like they'd been fitted with snow ploughs, and influenced by the safety car that Volvo developed in the period is this 245. So Series 2 4-cylinder 5-door estate. I spent a lot of time in the back of one of those. Extremely comfortable cars to travel in. Not the quickest, to be fair, absolutely not the quickest, but they had their place, and many families ran those many years ago. Fond memories. So there's a Sherpa. Well, in fact it was called Freight Rover then, with a difference, just starting up, and it looks like it's a 4-wheel drive. I don't know the full story on that one, but good lord, that is an incredible vehicle. Looks like it'll go anywhere. A Renault 12. So it continued, and it was produced under license in Romania by Dacia, Daisy if you prefer, but this looks like it's a proper UK car. Got an interesting set of rally headlamps on the front of it. You know, like Sibi Oscars or whatever they're called. Be like driving in daylight, wouldn't it? Wow. Well, what have we got here? It's a Skoda Estelle, and it's immaculate. It's totally immaculate. I might even have seen this car before. I'm sure this has been to Festa of the Unexceptional, because it looks mint. Some beautiful features. Clearly the boot's open because that's where the engine lives, and there's plenty of room around it. Got great paintwork on there. Yeah, the more I see this car, I love the period louvers on the back window. What a lovely looking set of wheels that is. I love it. Absolutely fantastic. So Rover had the SD1, and then they progressed with the SD3. I think the SD2 name was used on a Triumph. Well, we've got a couple here. We've got the Honda Engine 213, which is this red one, which is in lovely condition. It's former Festival of the Unexceptional winner. Oh, it's for sale. Better keep away from your wallets on that one. It's in immense condition. Got the factory sunroof in there. Honda reliability from that superb 1.3 little Revy engine. Now, if that didn't float your boat, we got yourself a Vitesse. Now, these are super rare. I don't recall seeing some of these. This is a facelifted car. It's what, gee, that would make it a 90. Weren't the 90s a great period for cars? And the Vitesse, although it was a relatively small cabin, people did appreciate that. It was probably trying to hark back to the fact of the SD1 Vitesse, not quite doing it in that sense, but still a very interesting car of the period. That's lovely. So what's this I hear you cry? It's a Mitsuka Galoo. It looks like the love child of a Mark II Jaguar. It's probably got some Nissan componentry in there, but if you know a bit more about that one, please stick it in the comments, because that is a rare one, isn't it? So I think we've got trapped in the executive car park of 1983, and that's thrown up this A-plated Mark II Vauxhall Carlton, known as the Record in some markets, but we got it as the Carlton, an executive car of staple choice. And this one is the 2000, so not the 1800, the base one, it's the 2000. Oh, that looks a cracker, doesn't it? Again, I think on my travels and shows, maybe I've seen one more of those, and probably that's it. So as we heard elsewhere in the video, Ford had a bit of a right on its hands when it replaced the Anglia, like this one, with the Escort. Now this one is absolutely lovely. I mean, again, hopefully it comes across on camera. The car is mint. Got those lovely opening quarter lights there. Quite a fair bit of passenger room. That famed slung back rear screen there, which picked out the Anglia so of its time. I think Harry Potter's done a lot to increase the popularity of this, and this is deluxe version. I don't know what deluxe got you, but please stick it in the comments. Might have got you a heater probably, but shout out to the owner of that one. I just take my hat off to you. That looks incredible. Weighing barely more than a packet of crisps, so it felt like it back in the day, is this Citroen AX GT. This is the 5-door version, a bit unusual. I think I drove the 3-door. They really drove well. Not driven one for years. Love to have another go in one, but certainly when they were new, they were incredibly light cars. Changed direction very fast, super steering. Yeah, they're worth quite a bit these days. That looks great, doesn't it? So thanks again for watching Lot 76 cars from the epic Rustival 2. Some brilliant cars we've seen here today. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Please like, share, subscribe, turn on notifications so as not to miss the next video. And once again, as always, thanks for watching.